we're going to focus on the future of Ruben Amorim at the moment. But you were there, weren't you, in Bilbao? And from a United perspective, how was it?
Yes, I mean, Dan mentioned there before that we were both in Bilbao. I was covering the Tottenham Hotspur side of proceedings. But from a United perspective, clearly it is an almighty blow that they have lost this game. It would have been for both teams, of course, but particularly for United, given the financial situation that they're reported to be in, how many players that they might have to sell to try and recoup money, to try and go into the market, to try and get the players that Ruben Amorim would want. Clearly that would have helped had they qualified for the Champions League, because then you've got an injection of cash, but then you can also shop at a different market because you've got Champions League football that you can lure these players in for. Now there's no European football at all for United next season, and I think that's the first time in over a decade since the David Moyes, Ryan Giggs season in 2013-2014. The season after that where they didn't have any European football. Having said that, that following season, they could focus on the league, and in that first season under Louis van Gaal, they did manage to get back into the Champions League by finishing in the top four, but it's not an ideal situation for them, clearly. It just felt a little bit flat, I think. I spoke to a few United fans who said, yes, the atmosphere was really good, but it didn't feel like possibly as desperate, not desperate, probably the wrong word, as it was for the Tottenham Hotspur fans who I was covering. But look, it's not great news for United.
No.
There's no positive spin on this at all, really. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to cope with it. Not only the players that are going to come in, but also the players that are going to depart, how much money they can spend, how much money they can recoup. One thing we will always say, though, this is still Manchester United. They will still have that pull. They will still be able to attract players. And case in point is Matheus Cunha. We still believe that he will be joining United. That news was coming out even before this Europa League final.
Okay.
So he wants to join, apparently, Manchester United, regardless of whether they've got European football or not.
It'd be interesting to see if someone tries to pinch him. We've seen that happen lots of times.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in with a more attractive proposal that might involve Champions League football, that he could be the first of a number of players that they might lose because they're not playing in the elite European competition.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, won't it? Look, you know, it was almost like dubbed the My Way derby, because it's both these managers were doing things their way, you know. And Ruben Amorim has been as kind of confident in what he believes in as much as Ange Postecoglou, hasn't he? But he's not getting the results with it. I mean, we've got a bit of a graphic to show you. His points per games ratio is actually not great if you look at it, 0.92. You know, after 26 games. I know that's the thing you really need to look at there in terms of the games, but, you know, Paul Jewell, 0.94. Obviously, that was, you know, his expedition with Derby, who obviously have that record of being the lowest points in terms of the Premier League. Neil Warnock there, Steve Cooper, and then Ruben Amorim comes along. So has he done enough to deserve time and actually deserve backing for the club this summer? Should he have changed his ways? What should he have done with what he had, do you think? I don't know who to begin with, because we had this discussion off air, shall we say, and I just want my popcorn and I'm going to sit back. So Darren, I'm going to start with you.
Well, listen, my mind has changed. It's kind of fluctuated on this, and I don't think there's anything binary about it, but I am very much of the opinion that you can have a system and you can believe in that system to have got you to where you are, but those numbers are not good enough for Manchester United. Regardless of who the manager is, those numbers are not good enough. And my point is that once you are in situ, the club can be backing you, as they have done. They did with Ten Hag, and people disagreed with it, people agreed with it. They're backing him. But I think that once he's in the chair and he sees that his system is not working with that group of players, then for me, it's incumbent on him to switch to a system that allows them to win games and get points. Because sticking with the system that he had, then what you're doing is, the more you lose games, particularly to clubs that you should not be losing games to, particularly at Old Trafford as well, the more you are affecting your own reputation, the club's reputation, morale is going down, and for me, it just seems really counterintuitive to be pushing with something that you can start again with in pre-season when you've got your own players. We know he didn't want to come this season. We know he didn't want to be saddled with the Frankenstein's monster of a squad that United have at the moment. But I just feel that once he was in situ, a good manager has different ways to play, and you simply cannot keep playing the same way if you are getting negative results. You can do it at other clubs, maybe, because you get that leeway, but you are in charge of a superpower, and it's incumbent on you to win matches and take the team up the table.
I agree with what Darren is saying, but you're employing Ruben Amorim because of the success he's had at Sporting. And the success he's built at Sporting is because he's playing this formation. Now, you mentioned it before there. He didn't want to come in the middle of the season. I think in hindsight, he's actually glad that he has come, because now he has seen the problems that are there at Manchester United and which players maybe he knows he can rely on in this formation moving forward, and which ones he can't rely on moving forward. But it is clear that given the size of that Manchester United squad and given the number of players that are under contract at Manchester United, it is easier said than done to just say, right, I'm going to get rid of these 10 players and bring in 10 other players. Hence why I don't think it's such a negative that he's stuck with this formation, because this is the way Manchester United are going to play under Ruben Amorim. If they don't want to play that way, don't employ him, because you have employed him simply because he's been successful with this formation. And it's all well and good saying, well, let's change the formation and then we can just re-evaluate in the summer which players are going to be able to play in this system.
To get out of a bad fix, because actually they were at one stage facing potential relegation.
Yes, but the problem is, some of these players are still going to be there in the summer. So he needs to drill these players into this formation that they are going to play.
You can do that in training, that's your job, but on a week-to-week basis, your job is winning football matches. It's delusional to say that you can have this ideal of waiting until the summer to fit in to a way of playing when other clubs are moving away from where
it's the adaptability.
I think far too often since Sir Alex Ferguson has left, Manchester United have looked for a short-term fix. And it has been illustrated in the selection of manager that they've made, because it's borne no resemblance to the previous manager. Whenever they've employed David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they have tried everything without a structure in place. Finally, whether you believe that this structure is right or not in Ineos, they have that in place now. And they have decided this is the guy that is going to lead us forward, and we accept that this is the formation that he wants to play. If they didn't want that formation at Manchester United, they wouldn't have employed him, because Ruben Amorim has been absolutely steadfast in his formation. He has said, this is the way I play, and if they don't want to do that, I'll walk away tomorrow without compensation. He's already said that at the end of the Europa League final.
My point is that good managers have more than one way to play. And certainly if the results that you are employing are not yielding the results that they should, bearing in mind you're in charge of not just one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League, but one of the biggest clubs in the world, then you switch to something that is going to remedy that, and then you can return to the way you want to play. Football is full of ideas.
You can just return to it. How easy is it just to return to it?
Well,
as easy as it is not to return to it, because it's not working.
You've won a trophy with it, and you've been able to get success.
Like I said, it's been so short-term with United. So why don't they?
Why short-term?
Of course,
Ruud
it's
van
short-term.
Nistelrooy was able to win games with Manchester United playing with a 4 at the back. Manchester United have not had back-to-back wins in the Premier League all season. That's unacceptable for a club.
I'm not arguing that it's unacceptable or not. Of course, it's unacceptable. It says it in black and white. You've just shown us the figures. But what is the point of employing this manager if you're not going to allow him to try and get this formation right, if they want to play in that formation? And he has said to them, you are employing me because I've been successful. I've been successful because I've played 3-4-2-1. What is the point of me? If you want me to play 4 at the back, it's not my formation. So there's no point moving forward with that.
Were you in the interview? Did he say this? I'm being...
They say, right, let's just go 4 at the back to just try and get these results in the meantime. That, to me, smells of short-term again. Because then you're not trying to drill in this formation that Ruben Amorim wants for the long-term prosperity of Manchester United, because for far too long, it seems to me, they have gone for the short-term option to try and win the next title, rather than take a step back and say, how are we going to be competitive, not only for next season, but for the season after that, the season after that,
But I dare say they didn't think that they would have been so close to potentially facing the prospect of relegation dance. They are in 16th place.
100%.
It was a real prospect. So perhaps they might have thought at some stage, actually, he will change something just to get us through this awful